Vice President JD Vance is visiting on Tuesday to support Representative Nunn. Democrats are seeking to regain ground in the June 2 primary for U.S. Senate, with Turek and Wahls running as candidates. Joni Ernst both opting out of re-election bids. For now, the story stands on the confirmed development, with the next meaningful update depending on what the people or institutions involved do next. In 2019, the Supreme Court ruled federal courts cannot prevent partisan gerrymandering, allowing Trump to push limits. Louisiana has postponed its congressional primaries to redraw 2 majority black Democratic seats. Alabama is seeking Supreme Court permission to redraw its 2 majority black seats. The Supreme Court's ruling in 2019 allowed states to engage more freely in partisan gerrymandering. Louisiana postponed its May 16 congressional primaries to redraw district lines. Alabama is seeking permission from the Supreme Court to redraw its district lines, ruling in 2019. Louisiana postponing primaries on May 16, 2026. Republicans could gain 20 seats through redistricting. Democrats are threatening to retaliate by splitting up conservative bastions in states like New York and Illinois. The ruling weakened the Voting Rights Act's requirement for districts to accommodate racial minorities, opening new avenues for partisan gerrymandering. The next step is whether officials release more detail about enforcement, legal responsibility, or the response from those directly affected. The U.S. dollar has fallen about 10% against other major currencies since President Donald Trump returned to the White House, potentially impacting Americans' affordability. This decline in the dollar's value is seen as beneficial for some companies, particularly those with significant overseas operations. The dollar has fallen about 10% against other major currencies since President Donald Trump returned to the White House, a pullback potentially playing a role in Americans' concerns about affordability. Next measure is how customers, companies, regulators, or markets respond once the change begins to affect real decisions. The United States will launch an effort on Monday to guide stranded ships from the Iran-gripped Strait of Hormuz, President Donald Trump said. This initiative aims to help hundreds of vessels and some 20,000 seafarers affected by Iran's closure of the strait since February. The U.S. military has helped 2 merchant ships transit the Strait of Hormuz recently. Nationwide, the average price of gas on 30 April 2026 was $4.30 per gallon, according to the American Automobile Association. Oil prices jumped to their highest since 2022 after a report that the U.S. military is set to brief U.S. President Donald Trump on new plans for potential action in the Iran war. Ships and seafarers, many on oil and gas tankers and cargo ships, have been stuck in the Persian Gulf since the war began. The Associated Press watching intercepted drones and missiles explode over the waters, and running low on drinking water, food and other supplies. Brent crude rose by almost 7% to more than $126 a barrel at one point, before falling back. Launching an effort to guide stranded ships from the Strait of Hormuz, helping hundreds of vessels and some 20,000 seafarers. U.S. military assisting 2 merchant ships transit the strait recently. The Strait of Hormuz, a crucial waterway for global oil trade, has been effectively closed by Iran since February 28 due to the U.S.-led war. This development comes as part of the broader conflict between the United States and Iran over control of the strait. The pharmaceutical company that makes the abortion pill mifepristone has asked the Supreme Court to intervene after a lower court placed significant restrictions on access to the pill by mail. In a Friday decision, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals temporarily reinstated a requirement that abortion pills be obtained in person. The Supreme Court's order will remain in effect for another week while both sides respond and the court more fully considers the issue. The decision, which stems from a lawsuit brought by the state of Louisiana, will remain in effect as the case plays out. The drug's availability was expanded in April 2021, when the FDA said it would lift the in-person dispensing requirement for mifepristone for the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. Their availability has blunted the impact of abortion bans that most Republican-led states have started enforcing since a 2022 Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Manufacturers of mifepristone filed emergency appeals asking the Supreme Court to step in. In 2023, the FDA permanently lifted the requirement, meaning the medication could be sent by mail. Those rules had been in effect for several years until a federal appeals court imposed new restrictions last week. The availability of abortion pills has been expanded in recent years, but restrictions have also been imposed. How it fits into an ongoing case. This dispute is part of a broader legal battle over abortion rights since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. European leaders expressed surprise at President Trump's decision to withdraw thousands of U.S. troops from Germany. Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre stated that Europe is expected to take more charge of its own security. However, the figures are not dramatic. Asked about the American decision, Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre said, "I wouldn't exaggerate that because I think we are expecting that Europe is taking more charge of its own security." For now, the story stands on the confirmed development, with the next meaningful update depending on what the people or institutions involved do next. The U.S. military reported that 2 American-flagged merchant ships successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz with Navy-guided missile destroyers assisting in restoring shipping traffic. Iran has accused the new U.S. effort as a violation of a fragile ceasefire reached in early April. U.S. officials have expressed hope that the blockade forces Iran back to the negotiation table. The announcement came a day after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a new initiative to help guide ships through the critical waterway for global energy. It was unclear whether shipping companies and their insurers will feel comfortable taking the risk given that Iran has fired on ships in the waterway and vowed to keep doing so. Hundreds of ships have been bottled up in the Persian Gulf for weeks. The United Arab Emirates, meanwhile, issued an emergency missile alert urging residents to immediately seek shelter. 2 merchant ships successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz since February 28, causing significant disruption to global shipping and economy. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is hospitalized in critical but stable condition, according to his spokesperson. Giuliani's voice had been hoarse during a recent appearance on his show. He said that Giuliani remains in critical but stable condition. Giuliani's 8-year tenure as the mayor of the nation's largest city was punctuated by the 9/11 attack in his final months in office. He became celebrated as America's mayor for his leadership after the 2001 al-Qaeda terrorist attack that felled the World Trade Center Twin Towers. Giuliani later made an unsuccessful run for president and was an advisor to President Donald Trump, spearheading his efforts to stay in office after his 2020 election loss. Before launching into a commentary on the Iran war, he said, "My voice is a little under the weather. I won't be able to speak as loudly as I usually do." Trump is proposing numerous changes to the White House and City of D.C., including modifications to buildings, statues, and parks. Many of these proposed changes are facing legal challenges, with some potentially reversible while others could reshape the nation's capital for generations. For now, this is a limited update, with more detail needed before the story can move beyond the facts already reported. The bipartisan bill would block companies from using auto dialers to harvest private information about disabled veterans. These firms charge veterans for a service lawmakers say is supposed to be free. No additional concrete detail could be extracted deterministically from the article text. For now, this is a limited update, with more detail needed before the story can move beyond the facts already reported.